everybody. Today I get to play with the Distress Oxide Blue Ribbon line. Out of the entire line, consistently, I only purchase these three products whenever there's a new color that Tim Holtz comes out with in his line. And that is the Distress Oxide, the Distress Oxide Sprays, and then also the Glaze. And the inks are my very favorite, Distress inks. However, I like to have all of those. I don't just select a certain number of those. So I wait until they all come out in a mini pad, which is a 4-pack. So those come out every 4th release. And I think we're like on the 2nd or 3rd from the last time they were released. So I got to wait a little bit. So what I'm doing today is I'm actually taking the same Distress Oxide inks and the Distress Oxide spray, and I'm layering these out on these manila tags. And this is actually the one that I did with my Distress Oxide spray versus on the other side is the inks. So I wanted to see if the integrity of the color was the same across the board, and it is. I also wanted to see, by using these different mediums, it's 2 different types of technique, what that would look like on my tag. And as you can tell, they were a different look, colors the same. So if you haven't gotten into the Distress line yet and you want to try, think about what style you like based on what you're seeing me do here, and let that determine what kind of product you're interested in trying, the inks or the sprays. So for this one, I am actually layering on the colors individually and using my heated tool to dry between layers. And what that does is it allows that bottom color to set. You have to heat set this and it won't move anymore. And then I can layer on a color on top of it, and it allows that bottom layer to pop through, and it doesn't muddy up the water, so to speak, if it's been dried. And so you can get some really beautiful different backgrounds and looks by layering. And you can do this just simply by drawing between each. That's such a fun one. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and use these sprays, the same colors that I just layered on with the inks. And if you guys are curious on what colors I'm using, I have all of that listed down below. There's an entire supply list for you for your convenience. So you don't have to try to be like, what is she doing? It's all there. So just check out the description box and you'll see it all. I have it there for you. So with this one, I'm just going in again and I'm layering and I'm making sure that I'm, drawing between each colors. And now I'm going back through and I'm wetting, like I'm adding some water to the overage of the spray. And I just wanted to see, what would it look like if I dipped it after. And as you can tell, it's a different look. The colors, though, are exactly the same regardless. There's no variation in that whatsoever. So this next one, something that I noticed all along, but it became quite apparent with this, was the quality of my tag is bad in the sense that there's not much of a tooth to it, if at all. So getting that first layer of Distress Oxide on the tag is hard. It doesn't really want to hold and adhere. But what I'm noticing is as I layer up the Distress Oxides, it does create some texture that allows the color to grip for the next color coming on. So I just can build and build and build. Going back, I would definitely use a different tag. However, for this demonstration, I thought it was just great to show that these colors can be built upon one another, not only in color, keeping the color integrity, but also it provides that grip that's needed to hold the color. So that's really cool. It just took me a lot more longer because the quality of my tag is not very good. So hindsight 2020, I would definitely use a different tag. I also opted for a manila color on this because I wanted to see how opaque the Distress Oxide was on top of it, if that warm undertone shine through. And I think that it looks really nice on the manila, but I think if you wanted a brighter type background, to definitely use a pure white type tag would probably be your best bet. But for this, I really liked it. And right now I'm just finishing up layering on these colors, trying to get to my liking. I am kind of digging how this one turned out. You're going to notice that I'm using the Heat It tool here. I recommend that more so for your distress oxides and your sprays versus an embossing gun, because the embossing gun actually will blow your color around. It's really great for embossing, but for getting things to dry, I find the Heat It tool to be much quicker, and it doesn't mess with where your water or where your medium is. All right, so we're going to go into doing the Distress Oxide sprays right now with the same color combo. And this time I'm just actually layering on the colors going from top to bottom. I'm not really mixing them much. I wanted to see like what that would do. And then of course I flip it over and boom, I just try to dip and swipe and just keep working it. And that's the thing with the Distress Oxides versus the Distress Ink is Distress Ink, if you overblend and you get mud, that's it, you're done. But with the Distress Oxide, if you feel like you've overblended and you're getting close to mud, you can keep building on it and actually save your project. So that's really, really cool. All right, up next, I'm actually going to pull in some of these Distress Glazes. This first one, I'm using 3 different colors, the same colors I just used on the other 2 tags. And I just wanted to show you the difference between a Distress Glaze, or excuse me, an embossing glaze and an embossing powder. An embossing glaze actually glazes over your project, whereas an embossing powder is an opaque coverage and it'll cover things up. So I'm first layering on my pink, which is the flamingo. And then from there, I'm going to layer on, I think it's broken china. And I'm going to do some of it just on the manila and some of it also over some of that beautiful pink to show you that it will layer on top of the pink and you will still be able to see the pink shine through on the bottom, even though the pink may be quote unquote lighter than the blue that we just laid down. And then I'm going to go through and finish it off with some blue ribbon. Again, you're going to see the same thing. The integrity of these colors shine through and it literally just glazes over. Now, I got to confess, this is not a tag that I love, but it does a very good job on showing you just what a glaze can do and the potential there. I probably will not use this tag in a project, but may turn it into some embellishments by running it through with my die cut machine and making some hearts or some stars or circles or whatever and adding to cards. Okay, so this time I'm actually going to lay on some Distress Oxide ink first and get a nice covering on the tag. And then I'm going to go in with that blue ribbon embossing glaze and create a background from there. So I'm just building my background right now. Still, you know, it's having to take me a little bit more effort simply because of my substrate not wanting to hold color. So I'm having to really build on this. But I end up absolutely loving what this tag looks like. So the color's already there and the glaze is going to just obviously glaze over it, right? So you're going to still be able to see that Salvaged Patina in it. Right, and I think that's Salvaged Patina that I used. Everything's listed down below. I really love how this one turned out. Isn't that so pretty? And those splotches, that actually is because my substrate was still wet with the other medium and the glaze attached itself to it. And I just thought it was really cool. So now I'm going in with the green and I'm going to do my ink on this. And again, I'm just wanting to see how this all holds up and what it does to my glaze. Like what color is it going to turn the glaze? Because you can see the bottom color through the glaze. That's just kind of how it works. And I'm going through and just kind of spreading on my what I had spread on before. I just didn't put it in to my little jar. I left it in my little catch-all, and there we go. So that's what that one looks like. And then I'm going to swipe over with the darker color in the Distress Oxide ink pad and pick it up with a wet baby wipe. So it acts as a nice resist. So that's something else you can do, is you can use it as a resist. You can use that glaze as a resist and see how it just changes what that whole project looks like. Isn't that fun? Okay, so one of the things that I like to do is I like to add a distress glaze over this. It's actually not called distress glaze, excuse me. That's listed down below too. I'm not very good with my words today. It actually seals it, brings back some luster and shine. If you're using this over an ink, the distress ink, it allows you to layer more color on without moving it at all. And I'm actually showing you how it beads up once you layer it on. And the top is not covered with this product, and it still moves. So if you want to use this to seal your projects, it's great. If you want to use this to seal a Distress Oxide, it's great because it'll bring all that luster and shine back and you'll lose some of that chalkiness. I'm not a fan of the chalkiness, though sometimes it's cool. So these are the finished tags that I made. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. I hope that this helped you see just how this all interacts, maybe a different way to use these over a different substrate. That's great. Until next time.